My name is Margaret Wong, and I'm an immigration practicing lawyer. And here we're talking about your constitutional rights.
So it's very important for people to know their rights. And here we have a question that says, are immigrants protected under the same constitutional rights as US citizens? And what about green card holders?
This is a really, really interesting question, and this is why we went to law school. Before I went to law school in 1973, I didn't even know what a constitution is. I thought, oh my gosh, what does a lawyer do? They probably just take people's money and don't do anything. But now that I went to law school and now I teach in Case Western Law School about immigration law, constitutional rights is very important. That's the founding fathers in America. America only have 200 years of history, and we are founded by the laws and regulations under the Constitution. So the Constitution, the amendment to the constitutional rights is 100% protecting everybody who set foot on American soil. But how does that tie into immigration law? Immigration law is very much administrative law. So, what is administrative law? Administrative law is with agencies. So, as a criminal lawyer, for example, or as a bankruptcy lawyer, you file paperwork, you go argue in front of the courts because criminal cases, you need to go to court. You have the municipal court, the common pleas court, the mayor's court, the Supreme Court, the Court of Appeals. Those are all criminal court, and you go each step up for appeals. Immigration law, we go to CIS, which is immigration. In the olden days, it's run by DOJ, Department of Justice. Now it's run by DHS, Department of Homeland Security. So with that, if we lose in the CIS level, now we go see the immigration judge. If we lose on the immigration judge, now we go to BIA, Board of Immigration Appeals in Virginia and Washington, D.C. And if we lose that, if it's a final order, we go to circuit courts. But if it's not a final order, we go to U.S. district courts. And I personally sit on Senator Sherrod Brown's ad hoc committee on nomination of U.S. attorneys. So it's very important that immigrants in America understands the Constitution, the amendment, the immigration law. But comes with privilege of coming to America, we also have responsibilities. The privilege of living in probably the best, in fact, it is the best country, is the no question about it, it's the best country. The privilege of being here give us responsibility. What's our responsibility to this beautiful country? We need to read and write. We need to learn English. We need to vote and become legal and become citizens of America. We need to file tax return. Filing tax return doesn't mean all of us want to pay tax. None of us want to pay tax. None of us want to file tax. By April 1st, we all go nuts. But if you don't pay your fair share of tax, and if I don't pay my fair share of tax, America would not have good highways, would not have good railroads. Already, we don't have good railroad. That's our problem. And our voting machine would not be that good. So responsibility is we need to be a good American civic servant. What does that mean? You need to contribute to American society. You need to be generous, kind, be thoughtful, be grateful, be thankful. Whatever religion we are, we can believe in Buddhism, we can believe in Catholics, Protestants, Hare Krishnas, Hinduism, but it comes with responsibility, but definitely constitutional law applies to all immigrants.
Our next question is, what are some of these rights that I should specifically remember?
As an American citizen, green card holders, aliens who have no work permits, aliens who's here undocumented, there's certain that we have rights. And what are some of our rights? Our rights are right to remain silent, right to not say too much, right to, if someone comes to my house to search me, you have a right to a search for warrant of arrest, warrant of search. If you say no, the officers, ICE, FBI, police, could not and should not enter your house. Sometimes they will just show you something weird. Ask for the business card. Say, do you have a warrant? Because my home is my private home. I signed a lease for it. I subleased it from my lease it or something from my landlord. This is your private space. There is still some privilege and privacy in America aside from Google and Facebook. And to write, for example, I'm driving and I don't have a license. But that's what we call illegal search. How do they know I'm driving without a license? Unless I made an illegal right turn, I made an illegal left turn, I didn't stop in a stoplight. But if I did not do anything wrong and they stop me, and now they say, what country are you from? Can I see your license? Now that's a wrong thing because they're not supposed to stop us. But for the illegal stop, they would not have known I'm driving without a license. But a lot of our clients, and I advise them, and they'll say, oh, I just paid a fine. I just don't want more problems. See, these are the rights though. If we get away with it, listen, City Hall, the state makes money from us because whenever we drive without a license, we forgot our license at home, they fine us $600-700. Sometimes in some cities, southern cities, they fine us $1,000 and you never get. So if you have 2 driving without a license a year, it's $2,000. That's a lot of money for a fine, and those money are not tax deductible. So if you drive with a Mexican driver's license, they should not charge you with driving with no license. I have a license, albeit as an international license. So if my intent is to go back to Mexico, go back to my home country in a few days, I could. It's like you and I go to France, right? We can drive with our American license in France for 1 month, 2 months, buy a BMW in Germany and drive back. And after you tour the country, you save some tax, you drive back. You can use an American license. Same theory in America, and it's a very controversial topic now. So regarding rights, we have a lot of rights, but exercise them. Don't just say, oh, I'll just pay the fine as long as they don't deport me. You cannot do that because the more you pamper our government, the more they'll try to get away with it.
It says here, does the government have to provide me with an attorney?
Yes and no. It depends on which court. For example, if you have an immigration violation, like for example, I fell out of status from an F1 visa, from my student visa, I stopped going to school. American law does not require immigration to give us a free lawyer, number 1. Number 2 is there is legal aid who through the years, because of a funding cut, they also have stopped providing a lot of services for documented aliens. So for example, I have a green card, but I've committed some crimes. They want to revoke or cancel my green card. So sometimes legal aid would do it. But if you are charged by a criminal court with violation of criminal rights, then there's federal public defender and local public defenders that will be representing you appointed by the court. If you are filing bankruptcy, there's no right to a lawyer in bankruptcy court. So it depends on what court you are charged with, what violation. It determines if the government have to pay for your lawyer or appoint you a lawyer to represent you.
Okay. So another question that we have here, very, very, very important. If I am arrested, can I call my family? What about representatives of my home country's government?
Nowadays, with cell phone, always carry your cell phone. Normally, when you're arrested by ICE, we just had someone arrested yesterday. He has 1 DUI that's reduced. He also just filed a tourist visa extension. So he immediately called his uncle, and his uncle immediately called us. So with a cell phone. And normally, if he calls us, and if I picked up the phone, normally I would say, let me talk to the officer. So the officer nowadays is sort of nice. They will talk to us if they know who the lawyer is and stuff like that. That's very nice. Years ago, I started practicing more than 40 years ago. So years ago, when there's no cell phone, the officer normally say, I don't have time to let you use the government phone because we have to go back to the landline, and it's just a problem. But nowadays with the cell, they will let you. Regarding the government representative, you the law is you should be allowed to call your government representative to tell him. So a lot of times the Chinese embassy officers may call Chinese speaking lawyers like us and say, oh, so and so from our country is arrested. Can you help the family out so we can help them? But if you don't request, sometimes they forgot. And another thing I want to point out, these are excellent questions. Let's not mistake immigration law with criminal law. Criminal law, the violation, you have to go to jail, you have to pay a fine, and criminal is serious. You should not be touching a young girl. That's sex with minors. That's very bad. Immigration law should be a civil law. But in the past 10 years, after practicing for so many years, I see the merging of the civil and criminal. Because civil law, you're not entitled to appointment of a lawyer, but you could call your home country representative. Criminal law, you're entitled to a representation of a criminal, federal prosecutor, or state prosecutor that is free if you have low income. And you, on the other hand, you have to go to jail for a long time. But more and more now, with the different new presidents coming in, old presidents leaving, they're jailing immigrants because there's an overabundance of jails. The federal now, the jail people, they make a lot of money from people like us. There's just a study last week saying that like more than 60% of federal jails are now occupied by immigrants. They claim it's criminal records. I don't think so. I think there's such an overbuilding of jails because they use the US bond money.
So our next question here is, what can I do if I feel my rights have been violated by ICE? For example, I have been detained. I haven't been able to communicate with anybody, or I'm the wife of somebody that has been detained. I feel my rights have been violated. I haven't had any communication with my husband. What can I do?
I love this question. This is a typical question of an American citizen who comes to see us and say, oh, but I'm an American citizen. I love my husband. We have 3 children together. And now I couldn't find him. Where is he? Oh, I'm going to sue. Can you help me sue the government? I'm like, what? But we know he was undocumented. And I'm not saying this is a funny, I totally get it. You love your husband. You're an American citizen, but your right does not include your right to communicate with your husband who is undocumented. And also, I don't necessarily, and I'm a great immigration lawyer, but I love this question because I have all these American wives or husbands who come and see me. Oh, this is wrong, Margaret. I'm going to sue them. You don't have a right to live with someone undocumented or marry someone, right? Because the state law allows, so you're dealing with state law who allows you to marry anybody who have an ID to marry. Or if the state requires a social, and if you have he has a social, then you can marry him. All right, that's a state law. Regarding your right, your rights as an American citizen have a right to vote, have a right to not, not to be a plain view criminal law. But what I think the question should be is, what's the right of my husband? Because he married an American citizen and he had 3 USC born kids, and if his parents are all green card and citizen. So that's the correct question. What is his right? So his right is he should not be abused by ICE when he's in jail. Definitely report abuse, but it's a very closed system because all these people actually work for the jail people. The federal government pays them about $125 a day. The food is very bad. It's very cold at night. You have to pay like $2 or $50 for like 3 phone calls, $2 for a white underwear, so they'll do your laundry. It's just a pain in the neck if you go to jail. But more than that, his right is when we go to court, we can file motion to suppress. Motion to suppress means that I was wrongfully detained, I have a green card pending, and I should not have been picked up by the police because my wife is a citizen. I-130 is approved, 485 is pending, and it was not denied yet. So that case, ICE probably will exercise discretion and let me out. So that's his right. So I really love this question. So we have to identify the complexity of immigration law. What's the American citizens' rights? What are the children's rights, not having a father live with them? What happened if one of my child is autistic? And that happened to one of my cases in Atlanta. The wife had to run a two-person restaurant because they're not making money. They had to fire all their staff. Husband and wife used to work together, but now husband went to jail. The child is autistic. And absolutely, because she's an immigrant herself, she is a citizen, she has no family to help her. So she's stuck with the autistic child. So we use the autistic child's argument and say, I'm very special because I'm autistic. I need my father to bring me to school, to help my mother run the restaurant. In that case, because it's Atlanta judges, and there's a big study on Atlanta courts, and this is no secret. Atlanta judges doesn't feel that autistic child is an extreme hardship to the family because they said anywhere in the world they can take care of autistic. So deport the husband. But that case, we're winning an appeal. So these are cases where you have to work the case and see whose rights was violated and work the case.
So another very good question that I have here is, what are a few things that I should not do?
There are few things that's interesting. I always believe in don't do anything if you don't want to do, but that's not the point. I would not, if I were you, give false information. The most damaging information you could do is two things. When you apply for driver's license in Ohio now, for example, is on the web. You can type it in, are you an American citizen? If you don't read and write English, have someone help you. Don't say you're an American citizen when you're not. That's serious. Because once immigration find out, you never get a green card. The second important thing is when you apply for a job, within 72 hours, 3 days, they have to give you an I-9. You either fill in Part A or B and C. A is for American citizens. You can just show a passport, a birth certificate, or something, or really don't need to show. Because if you're a citizen, the government have the burden of proving you're not. But if you're only a green card or work permit authorized, we have the burden of proof that we are. All right, that's what we call, when we go to law school, that's what we call burden of proof. So on B and C, you need to give the ID and a social. So don't say you're an American citizen there when you're not, because nowadays, American government on most forms now are asking. Years ago on a 485, on a 539, they don't ask. Did you ever say you're an American citizen? Now they ask. If they ask, you couldn't lie. If they don't ask, sometimes you don't tell. That's not a lie. Because material misrepresentation. I would not give false information. I would not resist arrest. What does that mean? And I know for people like us, we're scared. On the other hand, we're very smart people. People who came to America with documents or without documents, we are smart. Anybody who succeeds going through the long line of American embassies, apply for the visa, first time they say no, second time, third time they say yes, all right? Or they came undocumented, walking through Mexico, going to Canada and walking through, taking that boat, Niagara Falls. It's really dangerous coming to America undocumented. We are smart people, we ran. So whenever a police stop you in a car, please don't run. Sit there and answer the question. You have a right to remain silent. On the other hand, if they ask for a name, it doesn't hurt. If they bring you to jail, call your lawyer. Don't resist arrest. When I say don't, I don't. So don't just go out the car, because the police are human beings. So a lot of times, if you leave the car not knowing your culture, because we leave the car to give the policeman respect. Policemen would think you're trying to hit him, and then they'll stop you, and then a gunfire start, and that's no good, you see? And don't record, I mean, you should record them, but don't outright make them crazy, because these people policemen work under stress every day. It's difficult. They have families, they have children. So don't resist arrest, don't run. If they tell you, you always put your hands on the wheel. Don't just put your hands there because they don't know what you have. And don't just put your hands in a pocket because you thought you were getting a knife out. These policemen, they're very aggressive, so we have to work with their culture. And don't get angry. That's our national trait. As an Asian, as a Chinese, I get very angry because I don't think they should arrest me. They should not stop me. It's racism. Please don't say that. Just let them do what they have to do for now. And we need to learn the civil rights movement in the 30s and 40s and 50s and 60s. Even now, to be an African American child, boy or girl, the parents, first thing they tell them is not listen to the police, but during that time of danger, don't fight back because they're going to kill us, or something. So don't resist arrest. Do exactly what they say, and later on, we will fight for you. Good lawyers, we will fight for you. But for now, just do what's necessary to get out of a bad situation.
Hey everyone, I'm just here to show you a cool couple things that we have here that we've put out for the public, for you, and for your rights. If you go onto our web, iamwong.com, we have a link where it can take you and it says Know Your Rights. It's a little pamphlet where it has a bit of information and it kind of tells you what your rights are basically, what you should do in case you are detained. Along with that, you can also subscribe to our emails where we send you newsletters, and you can be directed to a link where you can also see all these rights. And if you're like me, you can keep your handy dandy pamphlet in your pocket, okay? In your purse, in your wallet, whatever. We have it in 4 languages. We have it in Chinese, we have it in Arabic, Spanish, and English. It's very, very important for you to know your rights, okay? So the pamphlet has information on both the front and the back. Basically, know your rights. When questioned or arrested by police, immigration, ICE, or FBI, don't panic, stay calm, trust your instincts, and call your lawyer. On here, we have some of our information as well, phone number, website, anything, where we're located in case you need anything, you can go ahead and contact us. Also on here, we have a list of what your rights are. On the back, it shows your responsibilities if you're arrested by immigration or ICE, what you should do, or if your rights have been violated. So go ahead, feel free to subscribe to our emails. You can follow our links. You can go online if you do not have this on you in the moment of need in your pocket or in your purse. You can always just pull it up on your cell phone like I have it here at iamwong.com, and you can go ahead and go through it. Like I said, know your rights. It's very, very important. Keep this handy, study it, read it, memorize it, whatever you would like to do, but it's important that you always are aware and on alert of what your rights are.